step away. The silent confrontation between her and Camilla was approaching its breaking point. She did not want to believe in betrayal from within the family, but the evidence was increasingly convincing and undeniable. Iron determination, I will not let everything collapse just because of a thirst for power. For my brother, for William, for the future of the royal family, I must clarify and end this. The pieces were nearly complete. Anne knew the climax was only one step, and Anne, with her resolute nature, was ready to face the harshest truth. News of Anne's investigation quickly reached Camilla. In her private room, she received an urgent report from her aide. Her face paled momentarily, but quickly regained composure. Camilla knew that if Anne hit like thunder, Anne, upon receiving the report, clenched her fists tightly. This was the final link completing the full picture. All her suspicions were correct. Camilla had secretly prepared the plan, used the former servant to cause disruption, and then tried to erase all indirect testimonies. He finally collapsed. I admit, Queen Camilla asked me to organize the protest, the former servant said, in a trembling voice, eyes fixed on the floor. She wanted to create public pressure, to maintain her position during the transition. I only followed orders. That confession faces when discovered. Camilla at the palace received news that the former servant had been detained. Her heart sank. She knew the plan had failed. Though she tried to maintain a calm exterior, in front of others, inside, was fear and belated, and Catherine trying to stay calm amid the storm. If there was an internal conspiracy, it could shake the foundations of the royal family. Anne didn't want to believe it, but the initial evidence was two messages and all recent meetings. The secretary nodded, her heart heavy too. She understood this was not just personal suspicion, but a potential real threat to the power transition. Anne sat down, resting her chin on her hand, lost in thought. She recalled Camilla's calm face clear. She turned to the secretary, her voice low but determined. We must investigate discreetly. Do not reveal this to anyone, including William or Catherine, for now. I need to know the exact connection between the former servant and Camilla. Check schedules affecting the entire nation had now fully shifted onto his shoulders. Beside him, Catherine gently held her husband's hand, her eyes strong and calm. She understood the pressure William was under, and was ready. All eyes turned to Camilla. She sat there with an eerily calm expression. No protest, no furrowed brow of displeasure. Camilla nodded gently, her voice mild but firm, ready to stand by him as a solid support. Anne continued, her voice strong, but carrying deep concern for the family. William will take on more responsibilities in managing royal affairs. Catherine and I will soon be assigned new roles to support this transition period. This is a necessary decision to ensure the stability of the monarchy. Posing in the meeting would immediately make her the focus of suspicion. Instead, she decided to act secretly, calmly, and more subtly. I cannot lose this position. There must be a way to change the situation, she thought, her eyes flashing with determination and ambition. She would create pressure. After everything I've done, they treat me like this, Camilla whispered to herself, her voice full of resentment and hurt. Disappointment mixed with anger made her grip the document so tightly that the paper crumpled. However, Camilla was a resolute woman, always calculating carefully. She knew that openly upon him in the hardest times and accepted countless sacrifices to stand firm beside the throne. Now, as real power transitioned, she felt disregard. Its leak after just one night was unacceptable. Review all the security camera footage and press images from the scene, Anne ordered, her voice resolute. I need to examine every face in that crowd closely. The secretary nodded and quickly complied. Within an hour, clear photos were delivered. Anne sat at her desk, flipping through each one, years before retiring. Him, Anne muttered, a sharp suspicion rising in her heart. This former servant no longer had any official connection to the palace. So why was he leading the group and seemed to know the meeting's contents so well? The secretary stood beside her, looking puzzled. She hesitated for a moment before Suddenly, she froze. In the front row of the protesters, a man stood out prominently, holding a large banner. The face was all too familiar. It was a former royal servant. He had served for many years, urgently convened in a high-security room at the palace. William, Catherine, Anne, and some trusted advisors sat around the table. The atmosphere was heavy. Everyone sensed something serious was happening. Anne stood up, her voice clear and resolute, beginning to present the entire chain of events. From the secret meeting in Scotland to organizing the protest, then the effort to erase traces afterward, Anne said, her voice echoing. She presented the evidence one by one: photos, timeline, comparisons, indirect testimonies, and surveillance reports. Everything was arranged logically and convincingly. Trusted secretary. Daylight streamed through the large windows, but Anne's mind was darkened by doubts. She knew clearly that the information from the closed meeting was strictly internal to the royal family. This was only the start of a chain of dramatic and dangerous events. Princess Anne could not sit still after the unexpected appearance of the protest group. She returned to her private office, closed the door tightly, and immediately summoned her and for the stability of the entire royal family. The power transition had only just begun, but the first shadows had already appeared. Anne clenched her fists, knowing she could not sit idly by. To her secretary, her voice full of suspicion mixed with determination. The Scotland meeting is definitely the key. The pieces began fitting together logically and clearly. Fully steered the conversation toward the protest. He began showing clear nervousness and anxiety. I was only expressing my personal opinion. Your Highness, I think Camilla deserves more respect after her contributions, the former servant said, his voice slightly trembling. Anne looked him straight in the eyes, her voice cold. Anne decided to arrange a private meeting with the former servant under the guise of a casual old acquaintance visit, avoiding attention from anyone in the palace. The meeting took place at a private, safe location outside the palace. The man initially tried to act normally, chatting socially. But as Anne skillfully, Camilla, you will be excluded from all meetings related to the power transition process. Catherine and Anne will officially take on larger roles to support me in leading the monarchy. Camilla did not protest. She only nodded lightly and left the room with a weary demeanor. Her heart was now in turmoil, resentment. She fell silent, her eyes showing clear confusion and bitterness. William sighed heavily, his voice low but authoritative. We will not make this public. The royal family cannot afford another scandal at this time. But this is just a misunderstanding. However, faced with a series of undeniable questions and evidence, the timing of meetings instructions through private channels and the former servant's confession, Camilla could not provide a reasonable explanation. Less than a full day after Princess Anne officially confirmed in an internal meeting that the royal family's power transition process had been completed, and King Charles would temporarily step back from most.
Well, it's very rare when we get an update on the King's health, and royal watchers have really jumped on this latest snippet from His Majesty himself.
Of his duties, due to health reasons, Buckingham Palace faced an unexpected upheaval. A group of people suddenly gathered in front of the palace gates, unanimously protesting Camilla's reduced role during the transition period. What Anne could not overlook was not the meditated plan. Anne's disappointment grew deeper. She had once respected Camilla for her resilience and companionship with Charles through many years. But this action could seriously be the one behind it all. She felt sidelined and wanted to create public pressure to change the decision Anne shared with her secretary in a low voice. This was not a spontaneous act by a group of people. This was a pre-protest group. The former servant not only appeared in the front, but clearly played an organizing role. The direct connection to Camilla via the business trip was irrefutable evidence. Even without absolute physical proof like recordings, Anne was certain behind the protest was a sophisticated orchestrated hand, and Camilla was dug deeper, everything would collapse. She could not sit and wait, erase all notes related to the Scotland meeting, Camilla ordered her aide, her voice cold and decisive. Delete all messages, emails, and any records that could link me to the former servant. Do it quickly and discreetly. The aide nodded and hurried contact with the former servant and instructed him to leave London immediately to avoid questioning. The former servant panicked upon receiving the order. He hastily packed and headed straight to the airport to comply. Camilla paced the room, her heart full of anxiety mixed with determination. She understood the risks clearly. If exposed, her image in the royal family would collapse completely. "I cannot lose everything," she whispered. She ordered a complete cut of protest itself, but the fact that these people seemed to know far too much about the content of a meeting that had been kept in absolute secrecy. While reviewing the images, she spotted a former royal servant at the center of the group, and the secretary's account of a private meeting between this person and Camilla in Scotland a few months earlier made all suspicions even more evident. While Camilla calmly affirmed her full support for the king's decision, Anne began to wonder whether the protest was merely a coincidence or if this was the beginning of a long-planned conspiracy deep within the heart of the royal family. In the secluded meeting room, deep inside Buckingham Palace, the atmosphere was heavy, pressing down on everyone's shoulders. The warm yellow lights illuminated the familiar faces of the royal family. But today, no one was always loyal to the royal family. She could not allow hidden schemes to undermine the stability the family was trying to build. By late afternoon, an initial report arrived. The former servant had indeed contacted some old acquaintances within the palace. Anne clenched her fists. This is no coincidence. During the meeting, was that support merely a facade? Was she feeling hurt and wanting to create public pressure to maintain her position? In the hours that followed, Anne personally oversaw the investigation. She demanded checks on the list of protesters' funding sources and how they assembled so quickly. Everything was too professional, unlike a spontaneous protest. Anne felt a clear mix of anxiety and anger. As someone in the following days, Camilla discreetly monitored progress through indirect reports. She instructed her aide to review all records and to raise any documents or messages that could link to the plan. In her heart was a complex mix, fear of discovery, excitement. This decision is unfair and causes dissatisfaction. The former servant was silent for a short moment on the other end, before replying with determination. "Yes, ma'am, I understand clearly. I will take care of everything. The old loyalists still stand with you. We will make this voice heard." Camilla smiled coldly, satisfied with the quick response. She knew he had a wide network inside and outside the palace, capable of organizing a protest that appeared spontaneous, but was meticulously arranged. Over the failed plan and regret for damaging trust within the family. After Camilla left, William looked at Anne, his voice emotional. "Thank you for clarifying everything. We need to maintain unity at this time." Anne nodded, her heart somewhat relieved but still saddened. She knew William's decision was correct. Protecting the royal family's image before the incident closed in silence, but it left a valuable lesson for the entire royal family. Loyalty and unity are irreplaceable foundations. Anne stood looking out the palace window, her heart more resolute than ever. No matter the conspiracies or challenges, public was the top priority. The transition process continued, but with clear changes. Catherine and Anne officially took on more important roles, providing stronger support for William in the difficult period. Charles, despite his frail health, was informed of part of the matter and expressed trust in his children and grandchildren. Anne observed everything, her heart both relieved and anxious. She was pleased that Camilla had publicly shown support, allowing the meeting to proceed smoothly. But deep down, she still sensed the undercurrents of power. This transition was not just a change in role. Quietly, his voice low, but full of strength. Catherine smiled encouragingly at her husband. Her hand tightened, as if channeling energy to help him through this difficult, but a test of each family member's loyalty. The meeting ended in a solemn atmosphere. Everyone left the room with their own thoughts. Anne returned to her office, sat down in her chair and sighed lightly. She knew today's decision would bring stability, but it could also from outside, forcing public opinion and the royal family's insiders to take notice and reconsider the decision to reduce her role. Right after the internal meeting ended in solemnity, her voice on the phone remained characteristically calm, but carried clear weight. "I need you to help with something important. Gather a small group of trustworthy people. Organize a protest in front of the palace, opposing my being pushed out of the center of power. Make sure everyone sees that this..." Camilla did not return to her quarters, but quickly contacted the former servant, a man who had served her for many years and remained loyal. The call was made through a secure private channel with customs and airport security. The former servant was stopped just as he was about to board the plane. In a discreet interrogation room, the atmosphere was tense as a bowstring. The man sat trembling, sweating profusely. At first he still denied, but under the pressure of evidence and even more suspicious. Anne monitored from the palace, her voice full of vigilance, as she told her secretary, "They are erasing traces. But we have been watching. Don't let him escape." Anne's team was prepared, thanks to close coordination, hoping to escape surveillance. At the same time, the protest group was disbanded quickly, as if it had never existed. The banners disappeared, and participants withdrew without leaving traces. This action made Anne, or would you confront Camilla directly as soon as suspicions arose? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy. The British monarchy must continue to move forward. William and Catherine stood together, ready to face the future. Camilla remained in her position, but her role had changed forever. The story of the power transition was not just about changing positions, but also a test of hearts within the royal family. If you were in Princess Anne's position, would you quietly investigate to protect the stability of the royal family as she did? Ladies and gentlemen, King Charles has decided to temporarily withdraw from most of his official duties due to health reasons. The internal power transition process has been completed. The declaration landed like a massive boulder. William, seated to his father's right, gripped the armrest tightly. His face showed the heavy burden of responsibility. He knew that from this moment, his role was no longer one of waiting. The weight of the monarchy, the decisions of smiling. Princess Anne sat in the central position, her posture resolute, her sharp eyes scanning each person. She was the one always trusted in the most difficult times, and today she carried an announcement that would change everything. Anne stood up, her voice ringing out clearly without a hint of hesitation. It all to crumble over one power transition decision. Creating public pressure would make Anne, William, and the advisors rethink, at least in the eyes of the public and media. She believed that with her resilience and experience, she could fully control the situation. But Camilla did not expect that her secret actions had sparked a strong chain of suspicions from Princess Anne. While she waited for positive news from the former servant, Anne, at another palace, had begun reviewing images from the protest and immediately recognized the familiar face. Two strong women, one manipulate that the plan was on track, and a hint of regret for using such measures against her family. Camilla recalled her long journey in the royal family, the years of struggle for acceptance, the efforts to maintain her position beside Charles. She did not want it, but Anne clearly understood an unavoidable confrontation was approaching. Camilla had tried to erase the traces, but all efforts were too late. The curtain of secrecy was about to be lifted, and the consequences would not be light. An important closed meeting was regret. She realized her secret actions had not only failed, but made the situation worse. Anne, on the other hand, was filled with determination. She gathered all documents, testimonies, and indirect evidence. Now she was ready to present the entire matter to William and key family members. There was still disappointment toward Camilla, but Anne knew she had to act for the greater good of the royal family. Tension in the palace reached its peak. Others knew nothing yet, The former servant could not have known the details of the transition decision unless someone from inside had leaked it. And the most likely person was Camilla. Anne's unease grew stronger. She thought about her brother Charles weakening from illness, William shouldering responsibility too early, sharper than ever, met with Camilla, and now he's leading the protest against her being sidelined from power. She stood up, pacing the room with a grave expression. Everything was beginning to fit together suspiciously. Speaking. Your Highness, I recall something. During a trip to Scotland a few months ago, I accidentally saw this man meeting privately with Camilla. They talked for quite a while in a secluded corner. At the time, I thought it was just an old friends reunion and didn't report it. Anne's head snapped up, her eyes. Deliberate action aimed at creating public pressure to influence the transition process. Anne concluded. The former servant was brought into the room under control. He bowed his head and tremblingly, leaving no gaps. William listened, his face showing clear shock mixed with deep disappointment. Catherine sat beside him, gripping her husband's hand tightly, her eyes strong, but also full of worry. This was a confessed. I was hired by Camilla to organize the protest. She wanted everyone to think that reducing her role was unfair. The atmosphere in the room thickened. Camilla was summoned. She entered with a pale face, but still tried to stay calm. When Anne presented the full evidence, Camilla shook her head. I did not mastermind this. The fateful meeting at the palace. In her quiet private room at Clarence House, Camilla sat alone under the dim golden desk lamp. In her hands was the draft of the power transition document, an extremely sensitive internal file she had accessed through a private channel. Her eyes darkened as she read each cold, clear line. Her role would be significantly reduced, public responsibilities sharply cut. While Catherine and Anne were given more key responsibilities